listening to Superpower Mamas on the Superpower Up podcast, the show that embraces the art of soulful parenting.
Welcome, everyone, to the show today. I'm Laura Greco, your host, and you're listening to Superpower Mamas. And I'm so excited about our topic today. It's parenting from the foundation of abundance. And I'm joined and very excited to introduce you to a dear friend and colleague and an amazing intuitive, Jennifer Bloome. Jennifer Bloome has been on a journey of helping women to create babies in her practice. And this, of course, stems from the idea of abundance. And so Jennifer is now seeing the expansion of abundance in many different fields. And so we're going to allow her to share with us more about her. But again, our topic is parenting from a foundation of abundance. So Jennifer Bloome, welcome to the call.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm when we talked about topics, I got goosebumps. So I'm really excited to talk and share today.
Yes. So let's get started with our traditional first question, which is, when you're thinking about being a mom as well as serving moms, what is your superpower?
It's such a great question. So when I think about being a mama, my superpower is kind of twofold. So it's the ability to really to hold the space, create the space that allows us to be our family unit, while also knowing that each of us are individuals and guiding each of us to know ourselves and show up as our fullest self. Mm. So I suppose when it all gets boiled down, it's this really deep love and reverence for family, our own individual family, and deep love and reverence for each of us as our own individuals, showing up and being a part of this wonderful thing that is family.
I love this. And it's obvious that you embody this yourself in your own life. However, at the same time, I think about how these superpowers that you possess, how do you see them as assisting, for example, you in your family with your children, that could really help our listeners to understand, what that really looks like?
Right. So I think that it depends on what we want to create, right? When we think about who we want to be as a parent, who we want to be as an individual showing up on the planet, I think that it's so important, and maybe this sounds overly simplified. That's not even a word. Simplified. That's what I'm reaching for. Right? Is that we've got to start with ourselves and really having a deep understanding that we carry within us all the seeds that we're ever going to need. And yeah, there are things on the outside that are going to help us bring those seeds out and to create whatever it is that we want to create, whether we're talking about creating our family or creating any other kind of form of abundance, which we'll talk about later. But right, that having that deep understanding of yourself and reverence for yourself and your role in whatever family unit you're in is going to create your best opportunity and create the best opportunity for those around you.
Yeah. I often think about the abundance of information out there, and how that, the Google searches, the books that are out there, the professionals that have these ideas. I mean, when I was raising my children too, there was so much of that, but not quite to the extent that it's accessible today. And how that can really confuse and create not that information isn't good, like you mentioned, it can help to blossom what's already a seed inside of us. At the same time, it can create a feeling of not measuring up or inadequacy in some forms. What do you say to that?
Oh, I'm like over here vigorously nodding my head and saying, yes, I agree. My kids are, I have all adults now. My youngest is 18 and I belong to a number of online groups that are family oriented, and people who, women who are just starting out, families just starting out, and they're asking all these questions. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm kind of glad that I didn't have access to all of that, because and again, there's information is really good and it's important, but you have to know how to filter it, because if you read enough, you're going to find opposites. And one expert says this, another expert says that. And so you really have to be able to filter it to your own family's needs, and to have the confidence and that as you filter it, you're doing the best for your family in the way that you can, right? That's what needs to get measured up against, not the best mother who's ever existed on the planet, which I think we all try to hold ourselves to as mamas, at one time or another.
Yeah, and so this really speaks to what you already did mention, but perhaps we want to highlight this, is that a woman who is a mom, and I believe a mom is the foundation in a family, because she really is the person that's certainly intuitive, but also, doing things with the children and usually running a lot of different pieces of a family life. And the more she's in tune with herself, the more when she reads other things or investigates other things, she has that intuitive knowing of, yes, I'll keep this, and no, that's not going to work for our family, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's such trust involved. And the more you know yourself, the more you have, that understanding of who you are, the easier it is to have that trust. And, one of the things, as I've worked with women in the area of creating family, creating babies, I work a lot with women who are dealing with infertility. And, in that arena, there are so many different things that you can do to help your body, right? From acupuncture to diet to nutrition to, you name it, you can do it. But if you try to do it all, you end up stressing your body. And it's the same when you're the mama with the child. There's a million, literally, a million plus different ways that you could impact your family with choices, from how you feed your family to discipline to do you choose to co-sleep, right? I mean, there's so many different things. And if you try to do them all, you'd never sleep and you would be overwhelmed. So you've got to build that trust factor that says, yes, I'm going to choose A and I'm going to choose X, and maybe I'll bring in a little bit of Q, right? And that's what's going to be best for my family.
Yeah. Very valuable information contained in there. Yeah, because as the heart is more at rest, the ability to respond, to situations rather than feeling overwhelmed and reacting is so key there.
Yeah, I love that word, respond. Yeah. Because when you get into Google overload, it's less about responding and more about trying to fill a hole, I think, right? With action. And action's important. Choosing what you're going to do is important, but it's that foundation. I love the words that you've used about foundation, and when there's that peace in your heart, it's so much easier to hear. And I think that when you're a new mama or when you run into a new stage of parenting, it's sometimes you forget that you truly are the expert because you're the expert in your family. You're the expert in who your child is or who your children are or how your particular family operates. That's where you're the expert. And then you get to bring in the other information as needed, as it's going to help bring those seeds out in the best way possible.
Yes. And on that note, we're going to come back. We have to take a quick break. But Jennifer, I would love for you to share how folks can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So they can reach me through my site, which is jenniferbloome.com.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, you're still there. jenniferbloome.com. Great. Oh, sorry. I thought we got disconnected there.
Just got too quiet.
So folks, you've been listening to Parenting from the Foundation of Abundance, and we'll be right back after this quick break.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
Welcome back, everyone. And Jennifer, we're back again. You're listening to Laura Greco on Superpower Mamas, and our topic is Parenting from a Foundation of Abundance. So Jennifer, we were talking really about so much here, really, but how a mom is an expert in her own family. And I love how you shared that. And you really are speaking to the idea of autonomy as a mom first.
Definitely, because it really is easy to get lost. We all, however we show up, we all really want the best for our kiddos, right? That's really who we are as moms, and it's easy to kind of get lost in that. But you have to, in my view, you really do need to be able to have a good understanding of yourself, because that allows you to really show up for each of the members of your family. It allows you to show up for yourself, and you can, when you know who you are, again, we've been talking about trust, and it just makes it that much easier to be in a place of trust.
Yes. Trust is so key, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's easy to lose that when things aren't necessarily going the way that you want them to go in your family. But again, when you build up that knowing of who you are, you have that ability to maintain trust even when something new happens in the family.
Yes. And so when you're helping women, for example, we're talking here about the Foundation of Abundance, and you're helping women with their abundance. We know that whether it's having a baby, creating money, whatever that is, a business, it all comes from the same source, right? So tell us more about that.
Right. So what I know to be true is that creation starts inside of you. And when you're talking about a baby, that, you can kind of wrap your head around that, because we all know we carry those babies within us. Mm-hmm. But it also, bringing in that idea of seeds again, each of us carries our own inner gifts, our own inner capital, if you will, our own ways of being in the world and interacting from who we are as a soul. And when you can have a deeper awareness of those seeds, of that inner capital, what you bring out into the world is so much more a reflection of who you are. And so this allows us to create in all kinds of ways. It allows us to create that baby. It allows us to create a business that's in alignment with us. It allows us to be open and ready to receive abundance in the form of money. So it all starts from that deep awareness of our own inner capital.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? I totally agree with that. And I think about how when we get into that doing, it can really divert us from that. So I like to say that, it seems counterintuitive, but the slowing down is what really creates the speeding up.
Yeah. And I think that, we fight the slowing down, right? I was just actually having a conversation with my adult daughter about that, right? Because she has so much action built into her, and she's amazing at what she's created at 23. And at the same time, when you get into that place of, when you allow the quiet, when you allow the connection, when you allow yourself to dial back just a little bit, you can start to hear. It'd be like driving a car to someplace new, but driving so quickly with the music up and the windows down that you can't hear your GPS, right? Yeah, you could eventually get there, but it's going to be stressful, and maybe it's not the most direct way. But when we do allow ourselves to slow down, it's just amazing what can get brought to the surface.
Yeah. Yes. I think I have an illustration I sometimes use, maybe some have heard it before, but when you think about life, it's kind of, in a family, it's kind of like an orchestra. You can have a lot of different instruments come together, or individuals in our family and in our extended family and so forth. However, if they all play their own thing in such a way that they're, not in tune with themselves and the project, it can become like noise.
Yeah.
But once harmony is created by really first going within and taking that pause, because music, right? Music is notes are notes until there's a pause in the sound, right? And so bringing that all together, you can really have a beautiful symphony in your creation, whatever that is, by bringing all these elements together. And it all starts with going first inside and knowing what our purpose is, what we are here to accomplish, and then learning to blend, into the bigger picture, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And a mother has that.
Yes.
anyone that takes on that role of a mother, so we want to include anyone who is taking that role. And so, Jennifer, you have this amazing work that you do. What's your insight that, helps us to appreciate that turning within and doing the things we've described as far as, connecting with ourselves first and then our families? How do you see that as affecting the bigger vision of the world and the trust that we have as we go forward?
Oh my gosh, do we have 6 hours to talk about that?
I know, in a very nutshell, right?
Oh my goodness. So I think that, I think that when we carry, okay, so let me take a step back. I think that there is a lot of pain and suffering that happens in the world because we blame other people for our own feeling of not enough, right? And so I think that as we take care of ourselves and we get a really firm foundation and we learn that we get to create through our own gifts and talents, and that we can create community, and we can create, right? Just as we create family, we can create community on the planet. Mm-hmm. And that is going to be able to end a lot of the suffering that so many people have on the planet. And when I say that a lot of it comes from that feeling of not enough, that can sound like blame. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean it from that place at all, because I think that we're sort of taught that not enough model. We're taught the model that, you have to push and strive and get out there before somebody else gets yours, and it's all really, those messages are coming from a place of love. It's disconnected love, I think. And so when you can really know that you are in charge of or you have your own power to create your own abundance, and you can create your own community, it really is I just see it like a wave going through the world about being able to be more uplifting as opposed to the pain and suffering that's present.
Oh, it's beautiful, Jennifer. That is so true, and you speak to my heart when you speak this way. Because really what we're, if we can just bring it down a little to a little bit shorter words here, and I love how you described it because you really expanded, but really isn't it the concept of breaking the cultural patterns that have developed over time that were necessary for us to learn from. However, it's like we're evolving into a new clarity.
I agree, and just like the family changes, right? From when you have itty bitties through the time that you have adult children, right? There's that development. I do think that things are changing, and each stage is necessary. Some stages are more fun than others, right, in the family. But I do think that there's some breakthrough happening, and I think there's some patterns that are changing, and we're really learning as a whole. And there's some growing pains happening, but it's all unfolding the way that it needs to.
Yeah, and today's children are becoming our mirrors for more expansion in that department. I came from an abusive home, so my mission, even before I left home, was how am I going to parent differently? It was a question I asked myself as a little kid, watching everything and then seeing the strife in the world and, Vietnam War, all that stuff. Anyway, racial riots. And then as a parent, that's like kind of been my lifelong journey, is to break the pattern and create a new experience. And I see that our children today are really pressing that a little bit more. They're becoming more of our mirror, as we want to do better. So they also, are asking us to.
Absolutely. They're requiring it of us, aren't they? Yeah. And you need that. I mean, that's why new generations come in, right? They come in with new gifts and talents, new skills, a new vision, and things get moved along.
Yes.
There's expansion, right?
Right. Yeah. So they are truly a beautiful gift to us.
Yes, they are in so many ways.
Sometimes, but isn't that true too? Like you said about knowing ourselves, like that, it's like iron sharpens iron, right? We have an opportunity to learn more as we watch what happens in our children. We get to step back and say, "Wow, I'm really triggered by this."
Yes.
Why am I triggered? And more importantly, how can I, create a different response to this that will be meaningful for both myself and my child?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely.
So how is it, can you just give us a little bit of information or maybe discuss with us some really important point that you feel you want to cover before we end our show today?
Sure, and it speaks to kind of what we've already been talking about, but just to say a little bit more is that it is my belief that we come in with our soul, and our soul has wisdom, and it has some really specific information that it can share with us to be able to understand who we are. And so the more that the more that you can learn how to translate what your soul is saying to you, because it's not, it's not something we wake up in the morning, or, well, I do, but that's because that's the work I do. But, right, we're not always taught that. And so I guess what I'd love to share is just to say, be curious. Get really curious about yourself. Get really curious about who you are at that soul level. And your soul really wants to talk to you. And when you do that, there are so many tangible changes that happen in the world around you. It doesn't have to be only that you're operating at this, the spiritual level, but it can really inform that day-to-day life. So don't be afraid to really get to know yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like there's probably a lot more we could say on that, that you could expand on, like, how do you really do that? Right? So I think that we're going to have to do this again, Jennifer.
I would love it.
and then to dive deeper into this, the tangible changes and how to really tap into that process to create that abundance that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But parenting from abundance, I think you really highlighted what that requires. It requires an inner search, which creates the outer abundance.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. It all starts from within.
Yeah. And so, folks, I am so grateful that you came to listen. I'm hoping that you took away some beautiful things. Remember, till next time, to love yourself for the treasure that you are. You are courageous and strong, and you have what it takes. Changing the world starts with in your own hearts and in your own home. So own your superpowers and go out and be you. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Jennifer, for being our guest.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the superpower quiz today.